Recording. Recording in progress.
Too easy.
All
I
yours,
will
all yours.
preface this by saying this is just what I've picked up from various things. It's not coming from a place of like, this is how you have to do it. This is just, they seemed interesting and relevant to me. So,
Beautiful. Okay.
so this one
And,
I thought was
and
a really
Ali,
interesting way of,
please don't go too fast because remember that there's going to be people that they're not so used to fast English.
I'm
If you
so
can.
sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're not you're not the first person to tell me that this week even. So this one I thought was interesting just as a good way of visualizing how we present our data. So this is how scientists tend to talk. So if you've got an audience, you start with, ABC background, supporting details, and then you finish with the results. Which makes sense to us as scientists because that's how we do research. But generally, you should be doing something more like this when the audience is not scientific. You want to start with telling them everything up front so they know what they're going into, what's happening, and then add details. Especially in an audience that isn't captive, you're going to lose like 90% of the audience after the first 30 seconds. So go with the most important line first and then add onto that. So I just really liked that sort of upside down triangle as a way of thinking about writing or communicating with people that aren't scientists. Okay, so I pulled this from a couple of places, but for your opening, again, remembering that most people you're gonna lose them within, 20 seconds. So in the first 20 seconds, starting with who you are, why you're important and why, like, just so they trust that you're a relevant source and why what you're going to tell them is important. So again, that opening line being the conclusion of a scientific talk, really. And then if you have one thing in your head that you want the audience to know, which should be your opening line, but always just keeping that one thing with you through the whole presentation or talk. And then I really liked this phrase of bringing American energy in the first 5 seconds. So you're
Okay.
coming on stage or into a room like, hey, everyone, oh my God, have you heard about blah, 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 blah. So, and then petering off into the next 10 seconds to go into this is why it's important. Here's the supporting details. But American energy, big and bright in the first five. Um, so in the opening, I thought it was really interesting that this guy I was listening to says that pretty much everything that we say about our job is jargon, even when you don't think it's jargon. So I put some examples in there, like how I would say some of the work I do is environmental threat management, and pretty much that whole sentence is incomprehensible to a really big portion of the public. So I've put in a better example of I reduce threats to our environment that anyone can understand each individual word and the combination um, to figure out what it is that you're talking about. And then hooks are things that um, we would say a lot in our industry and conservation, like I'm saving the planet. I'm working with the most important species, like things that hooking people but not telling them anything important are just things to avoid in the opening when you're trying to A, tell people the most important thing, and B, get them to listen further to the rest of what you have to say. Common mistake. I thought this was really interesting, but this guy was saying that for scientists, we want everything we say to be 100% correct. And that's good for when we're talking to other scientists. But when we're talking to the general public, you can generalize. You can just say, I'm stopping cats. You don't have to say, I'm stopping cats in the semi-arid zone between the months of August and March. Like you can generalize. And he said 80% accuracy is acceptable for a general audience. And I've given some examples there just to sort of outline what I meant by that. Um, For the slides, I liked one of the main ones was avoid putting words on your slides. And I've written do as I say, not as I do, because I feel like this is you can I'll save this as a PDF and I can share it. But theoretically, when presenting to non-scientists, you should have like 5 words max on the screen. And I can't show you what I'm working. So the talk that I'm giving at Fringe is 10 minutes and I have 70 slides and it's a total of 23 words over the whole 70 slides. So just to give you an idea of people want to see things, they don't want to read things, and they'll take it in better if the words that each word is something I want them to have in their head. Um, and avoiding AI images because they look glossy. And if your people get what's the word he used? It was like uh people just get like tired, their eyes get tired of the images, and so they're not taking in the information that you're trying to present through an AI image. So it's better just to not use them at all, because even if you only use one in your presentation, the next person maybe will use one and they're going to lose the audience, or the next time you talk to the same audience, you're not going to have that same traction. And then I've been looking into like literally how you stand and how you present. I feel like I personally have like a lot of like pep, but it doesn't always come across as you should trust me. I'm excited. Stay focused. Stay interested in the topic. So, like talking with your hands out, palms up. Um, don't walk around a lot as you're talking. People want to be comfortable. So, you moving makes them uncomfortable, and that's whole body movements as well. Um, and then, so part of the sort of training I'm doing, I've been looking into like how comedians talk on stage because a lot of that is how they present is how we need to be able to talk to general audiences. So one probably not relevant for everything we do, but if the audience laughs, let the laugh finish, then give it half a second before you start again. If you cut off laughs or any sort of reaction from the crowd, they're going to think that you think that you're more important than their emotions. So let the emotional thing happen, the reaction, and then continue. Act how you want your audience to react. So if it is something shocking, then you can be visibly shocked. You can say, "Isn't that shocking?" And then another, just something interesting I thought was to dress in block colors. So literally like jeans and a t-shirt was one of the best things to wear for somebody starting out. Just again, keeping the audience comfortable. There's nothing to look at up here except the important messages that I am drilling into your brain. And then just recently we did a how to do interviews better talk within my organization, Australian Wildlife Conservancy, because a lot of the time we do talk to radio hosts or I mean recently I was on TV, so like whatever. So I got some really cool, really useful tips from the communications team, so the people who do this like professionally. And the number one thing that I'm going to take with me for the rest of my life was that for an interview, have 3 things and write them down and have it as whole sentences, even. And those 3 things, every question should come back to that. So if one of your things is platypuses are going extinct, then no matter what the question is, you're trying to get it back to and that's because platypuses are going extinct. Or, this wouldn't be a problem except for platypuses are going extinct. And especially for the difficult questions, if you've got an interviewer who wants to trip you up and make you say something that's maybe not relevant to the topic at hand, then I've put some examples of how to steer it back to one of your three points. If it's not live, then they're going to cut what they don't want anyway. So making sure that every answer has something in your three dot point list means that no matter what they cut, you're still getting the point across regardless. And steal good answers from people you admire. If you're talking about platypuses going extinct and you've listened to somebody else have like a really good way of expressing how platypuses are impacted by dams or whatever, then steal that exact answer and say it word for word. If it's good, then keep it. So yeah, that's me. Just a couple of tips that I have procured over the last few months.
That was amazing. Ignacio, you're on mute.
Thank you, Ali. That was so good.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks
guys.
so much, Ali. And I think it's great that each one of you that you bring things that you are learning. So we recorded this. I'm gonna stop actually the recording.